Newly added to Xbox Game Pass, and on the day it was launched, is Blair Witch, a 16GB horror game from the people who made Layers of Fear. I didn't realize that Lionsgate made games, but you know what? This is a pretty valiant effort. You play the role of Ellis, this guy with a mysterious dark past that will come back to haunt him nonetheless. Well, I guess he does some tracking now with the police, and he has his trusty sidekick, German Shepherd Bullet. You head into the infamous woods looking for Peter, a lost boy. No, not that kind of lost boy. Ellis has some high-tech equipment to help him with his tracking, you know, like an old 90s phone so that he can play Snake. You learn that Ellis has made many mistakes in his past, and going into these woods without a compass is just the most recent. There were times where I thought Blair Witch was an excellent getting lost in the woods simulator, because this game does not hold your hand. About the extent of which you will get help is freezing the game to give you some card saying, hey, here's a mechanic, here's how to use Bullet, here's how to use cassette tapes. That's right, you have this camcorder you pick up, which has magical abilities. I guess it could traverse time because somehow it ends up in the 1950s where, loggers are able to use it? You acquire tapes that you find and then you can watch them, rewind them, pause them at certain points to change the environment around you. You need a stove to work, find the tape with the stove, queue up to where the stove's working, and there it goes. If you go into this game without this knowledge that I just gave you, you will be terribly confused. There were a couple points in this game where I spent at least 2 hours walking around in circles, because you're designed to walk into circles until you do what the game wants. Then the new path will be shown. Like, for example, I have to go to the weird white tree, okay? Where is that? Can I get Bullet to show me? Well, only once you get close enough, but a lot of times he's just as confused as you are. I would have appreciated some added dialogue. Oh, hey, that white tree, wasn't that uphill? Oh, it's this way. And yeah, there are some graphical issues. Frame rate really drops hard. I'm not playing on the Xbox One X. This is the basic OG Xbox One. But the game looks great when it's dark. There was at one point where I was so deep into some territory I wasn't supposed to go that an enemy whirling leaf wind monster was clipping through the floor, instantly killing me. I didn't realize I wasn't supposed to be going that direction, and this was the game's way of telling me. So I spent several hours trying to sneak past this wind demon. Speaking of demons, most can be foiled by pointing your flashlight at them. Bullet will kind of point in their direction, then you aim and you look at them. It's somewhat satisfying. I wouldn't exactly call this combat, but it's interesting. And from a narrative perspective, you're kind of wondering, why is Ellis being led through all this? Like, you learn that there's a psychopath out there, maybe he kidnapped the boy. But this does come full circle. Does it entirely involve the Blair Witch? Sorta. I mean, it is kind of nice that you get to go through the infamous house, right? And I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to go down the basement. You spend an hour walking through this house, repeatedly going into the basement, getting these flashbacks of your past, and I was just like, okay, I get the point. Blair Witch features multiple endings, and they're done right. Now, I thought that the ending I got first playthrough was satisfying enough. Spoilers, skip ahead at this point. Okay, like, I became the new bad guy, but I was happy enough that Bullet survived. You know, what's so bad about that? Now, I learned that if you want the different endings, you don't get simple dialogue trees and then you pick the right choice. You have it all dictated by the actions you take during the game. Did you call the right people when you learned of someone dying? Things like this. You could patch things up with your wife. If you call her every time you actually get a cell phone signal. This is actually a pretty cool way to go about telling a story. Blair Witch has about a 10-hour campaign, and it merits multiple playthroughs, and I think after your first playthrough, you're going to have more of a chance to explore the world the way you intend to, and it's going to be less frustrating. I also like how there's not a ton of jump scares. Like, there's creepy elements to this that I find that you can only really get out of a video game. Like, the environment reassembling itself around you, it doesn't pull off so well in a movie. I give Blair Witch an 8.8 out of 10. Okay, so you've made it this far, but are you ready to go further? Are you ready to hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, and maybe even sign up for my weekly podcast on Patreon? It's only $1 a month.